In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank everybody who's been listening. This has been by far our best month of growth and listens. We started 2020 off like we wanted to, and it's awesome to see, and we thank you all for who's been listening. I just want to start off. This has nothing to do with horror movies, but we just all of us here want to say, our hearts break for all the victims with Kobe Bryant's helicopter crashing. His daughter. Can't imagine watching your 13-year-old daughter and all the other people on board. It's just heartbreaking. All of our hearts and prayers and thoughts go to them. And I just want to tell all the co-hosts and listeners, I love you guys too. I hope y'all know that. And I cherish this. We got another guest on tonight, and it's awesome. One of my favorite people I follow on Twitter, Trey Rowland. He's the host of one of my other favorite podcasts as well, the Rowlcast. He's hilarious. Trey, I'm going to ask you the same questions I've asked everybody else, all right? What movie do you first remember as a horror movie fan? What was your first horror movie experience you remember?
First and foremost, thank you for lying about all of these things that you say that I'm a part of your favorite in. Total bullshit, but I will take it. I will take all of the gassing up.
I was gonna say, keep powder in his ass. Why don't you?
That's good. Well, I can use a good ass powder. I don't get it much all the time, so I'll take all the ass powdering I can get. My ass aside. So the first movie that got me into horror, believe it or not, actually wasn't a movie. It was a mini series on ABC. I don't know if you guys remember the original It that came out with Tim Curry.
Oh yeah.
That movie fucked me. I was 7 or whatever. Just fucked me up for life, dude. To the point where this clown can turn into anything. My dad was taking me to bed that night. I was looking for little bozo feet because I thought my dad was Tim Curry clown. So just ruined me mentally. But I loved it. And then from then on, I started to move on to probably sci-fi horror. I really like all the Alien movies. And then of course I found the movie that we're going to be talking about tonight. But the first one that really, like I said, I can remember it to this day. And if you watch it, it's a bowl of queso. It's cheesy as shit. Tim Curry does a great job if you watch it now. But that was the first horror memory I have, was actually a mini series on ABC. Stephen King's It.
Okay, cool. Me. I remember a couple weeks ago, me, Mike, and Trey were all talking on the timeline, and I brought up the fact that I'd never seen The Thing, and Trey says, "You run a horror podcast. How have you not seen The Thing?" Well, that has now been rectified. Trey, tell us why you like this movie so much and why you wanted to review this with us.
To me, and you guys are I see the Michael Myers paraphernalia, so I'm ready. I'm coming in with just scalding hot takes. This is John Carpenter's best movie, to me. This is John Carpenter, and this includes They Live and all that other, and Big Trouble in Little China, obviously the Halloween movies. This is my favorite movie because on the surface, right, it's a movie that is disgusting. Dogs' faces are exploding into tentacle porn, spider crab heads, fucking chest mouths. It's this is a disgusting feat. The practical effects are honestly revolutionary shit. Stuff that you still don't see in movies today because people are too apt to rely on CGI. So on the surface, it's that. And when you watch it for the first time, that could be what you get. But to me, I like this movie because I think it's really deep. Because when you look at the movie, if you do interviews with Kurt Russell, this is a movie that's really about paranoia and mistrust and how quickly rational human beings, when they're isolated and the paranoia creeps in, can turn into monsters themselves. So this very easily could have been a murder mystery, who's going around this Antarctic base killing people, how quick these rational dudes are turning on each other and willing to leave them out in the cold to die and burn them with flamethrowers. But instead of just a boring guy with a kitchen knife, it's a shape-shifting dog Wilfred Brimley diabetes monster with tentacles and crab face.
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Oh yeah. Oh, we'll get to Brimley.
I was gonna say, I'm so happy you mentioned old Brimley. Diabetes.
Hey, Brian, let's give our basic thoughts on the movie as well. Mike, you go first since he said guys with a mask and a knife are boring. You go ahead and go first.
Not always.
That's okay. Everyone's entitled to their wrong opinion. So, real quick, I actually really do like this movie. I think it's really close with They Live for my second favorite Carpenter film. I like both of those films almost the same. So I really enjoy both. Everything you said is spot on, man. This movie is like 4 movies in one. It's a sci-fi horror because of the monster. So it's a monster movie. It's got a whodunit aspect to it. The cold adds another layer of horror. For me, in every movie that you get in the snow, we talked about it when we reviewed 30 Days of Night, like the snow and the freezing cold adds another layer of horror for me personally. And then you get the suspense that you talked about, that suspicion of, are you the thing? Are you a thing? Who the fuck is a thing? Is Wilford Brimley a diabetes ass thing? Like, what is going on here, man? Is Kurt Russell in all his man hunky glory? Is he the thing? Like, you just really don't know. And I love how this movie uses practical effects, like you said. We talked about it a million times on this show. Practical effects are fucking just the best shit ever when done right.
Yep.
And this movie does them so damn well. I think it holds up perfect. So I'm really looking forward to breaking down scene by scene, but I really enjoy the film.
And Michael, the cold is a horror element in itself because I'm from Iowa now, but all of us are from Florida, and the cold is legitimately like fucking terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Another thing I love about this movie, and I hope we get into it, is the ending. I love horror movies. I feel like a horror movie shouldn't really have a happy ending because you're supposed to be filled with like dread and like tension. And okay, like the 17-year-old virgin like really killed the machete guy with like a coat hanger. Like that's kind of lame. I like the shit where you go out feeling kind of bad afterwards. You're
except for the Strangers. I needed a happy ending on the goddamn Strangers. I needed.
I will say that is a John Carpenter staple, or at least his early stuff, where the ending is left open ended. You like even Halloween,
great ending in that movie. I'm fucking around, but
right. No, I know. Even Halloween has where the fuck did he go? You don't know. There was supposed to be no sequels, and then they did a bunch of sequels anyway. But the same thing with this, you kind of don't know. We'll get into it, but I love how open ended it is.
All right, Brian, I'll go next, and you can close this out on basic thoughts. I'm almost 29 years old. I had not seen this movie until this past Friday night, and you can ask the guys in the group chat. The film's first impressions was not great to me. I rewatched it Sunday morning off on a good night's rest though, so my opinion is different. The practical, the effects are great. The movie looks great. It is a great mystery film. It's kind of like, I don't know, like it's kind of like watching a horror version of Clue, maybe.
Right.
But I'll get deeper into it later. But the film it's all right. Go ahead, Brian.
Oh man.
This movie is a good example of why I love doing this show. Like, because I am it gave me a reason to watch this movie. And right. I am 37 years old and I have not seen this movie, but here's my hot take. It's because I'm not a very big John Carpenter fan. I don't really like I don't really like hardly any of his films except Halloween. And I've tried. This is another hot take. I don't like at all Big Trouble in Little China. And
it's not great.
It's stuff I try. And I mean, They Live is okay. It's funny. It's got some great one-liners, but
it's got Roddy Piper about this.
Nothing about this made me like, goddamn, I can't wait to see The Thing because John Carpenter did it. Like, based on his other stuff I've seen, I just had no reason to watch it. But I'm glad I did. I will leave it at this. Well, I'll say this. It's good. It's a good movie, and it's good because of Rob Bowden, the dude who did the special effects in this movie. Like, without him, I mean, it would be like the other John Carpenter movies Whereas like Escape from New York and Escape from LA, I think have great stories, and I think this would have been a great story. I just think John Carpenter, or I think another director would have maybe done them better. Just saying.
Ooh.
And I'll leave it at this. Like this movie, I think is good for a John Carpenter film. That's all I'll leave it.
Wow.
We're not even 10 minutes in this, and the takes are spicy already.
Brother.
Y'all ready to jump into scene by scene, or got any more thoughts before we jump into it?
Nah, man. Fuck
Let's
this
break
thing.
this down.
All right, the film starts with the spaceship crashing into Earth, and I wrote right off the rip, awesome opening title, and I love the way the thing just appears onto the screen. I think that's awesome. I wrote down there's great visuals of this helicopter landing, and then you see another helicopter it's chasing after this dog running across the snow, and this guy's shooting and he can't hit him. And it keeps flying. And then now we're at the base, and the guys are playing ping pong. And McCready, he's playing chess on the computer, and you can tell it's old as shit because it looks terrible. And then it cuts back to the dog and the helicopter chase, and the guys, they all go outside. They're wondering why this helicopter is flying over their base. And I can't remember which one of the guys is. They say it's they're Norwegian, and he shoots at the guy because this dog is hugging right up on him. And then was it Gary? Gary, yeah, the station commander Gary. He shoots the Norwegian. That's just the opening scene. Trey, what are your thoughts on the opening scene?
So I love the opening scene because what the fuck is going on? These are guys in a helicopter. They're shooting a dog. They're blowing themselves up. They're Norwegian, so obviously that's a peace-loving people. All they like to do is like marinate sharks and like make wooden shoes and whatever like those Viking people do. Pay high taxes and have great social benefits, right? Like they don't like to fight. And here they are committing like dogicide. So they're committing dogicide. It's like, why are they shooting at this dog? So I love this movie because you're always on your toes. Like, what the fuck? Like, why is all this happening? And the thing that gets me about that opening scene that I like is you can tell, and the movie hints at it. The movie hints that these guys are already kind of like on the brink of sanity from like being isolated. Because our boy Gary was very quick to pop the Norwegian guy right in the head. Like just immediately shoot him directly in the head. Zero questions asked. They refer to it later in the movie. Like, oh, Gary, you're pretty ready to use that pop gun of yours, weren't you? So Gary was out for blood because all you've got is whiskey and shitty chests like floppy disks, which Kurt Russell, I know Michael, he hinted at the hunkiness.
My man.
Kurt Russell is one of my favorite actors of all time. And in this movie, he has just a tour de force performance. Like, he loses to the chess game, knows that he's going to be in Antarctica for at least like another 6 months, is so frustrated at losing, pours his scotch into it and calls it, he's like, cheating bitch, and just ruins the chess for everybody. Like, no more chess for this fucking base. So I like it just because it establishes like it's an uneasy mood.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm with you. I love the opening scene. It sets up a lot later. You know, fun fact that I really didn't know until about a couple years ago when I looked a little more into this film. The Norwegian guy gives away the plot in his native language from the very beginning. He
I
tells
didn't know
that dog is not a dog. It's a thing. It can shapeshift into anything it wants. Run. Don't pet that dog. Don't fucking touch that dog. Is basically what the Norwegian guy is saying.
Oh,
He's
that's
screaming it. And
That's
so
awesome.
when you know that, watching that opening scene, I'm like, these motherfuckers, they have no idea. This friendly looking husky out here looking like Washington's mascot. No, man, this thing is out for fucking blood. It's not real. And
No wonder this movie didn't make much money over there because they were like, shit, you told us the movie right off the bat. And they're
probably
the ones that
right.
can understand.
You know what? Maybe over there they put it in, English, and they're like, what the fuck does that mean? I don't know. Anyway, but no, so John Carpenter, surprise, actually plays Norwegian number 2. I don't know his name.
Oh,
but
my
he
favorite
actually,
Norwegian.
yeah,
the best
Norwegian number 2. Now, I love the scene for every reason you said. By the way, I used to have the Thing title card shirt with the arrow that pointed down towards the junk. So that's kind of
right next to your federal booby inspector.
That's
t-shirt
right,
you got
baby.
from the beach
You know
shop.
how I've been corny dad since I'm not even a dad. I'm still a corny dad. Stupid shit. No, love the scene. I love the way it sets it up and value. And like you said, R.J. motherfucking McCready, my man. The beard, the hair, all of it. Kurt Russell, you sly fox, you.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, my first note on here was Russell pouring whiskey into the computer because it beat him is classic badass Kurt Russell.
It is. It's fucking awesome, man.
Like this movie, John Carpenter did it. I'll give him props, man. I know I talk crap about him right off the bat, but you know he had great editing, and this movie is great, or it's good or great, however you want to look at it, because of his ability to build suspense with the great editing. Another fun fact, you know, they actually apparently the sets, you know, to was at 40 degrees, to add some realism to the performances, make it look even colder than it was. So, you know, that also that and this movie has a lot of Alien 1 vibes, and a lot of that, you know, like when they're sitting around the dinner table and things like that right off the bat in the first few scenes, that, you know, really reminded me of Alien. So, and hey, you know, that's a great movie, so it's a great one to pull from.
I forgot to mention off the top of this, there's a lot of characters, and I told Trey to feel free to correct me if I fucking name up.
Got them all. You're 1 for 1 on Gary, bro. You did great. You even got his title and everything.
Gary, right?
All right, the next scene starts off George. He's getting sewn up. He got shot by the Norwegian in the leg, and he asked him, "Was like, man, why was that helicopter flying so low?" Then it cuts in the guy, what's his name? Windows. He's the radio guy. He's been trying to get a hold of some people to get some help. And they're like, "Why can't you get a hold of nobody?" And then McCready and Dr. Copper, they leave to check out the Norwegian base. And I just wrote down this dog. He's walking through the base, and it sneaks into this room. And I read that Carpenter used a person who was not on the cast as the Shadow because he wanted to leave it real mysterious. And I thought that was kind of cool. The dog sneaks into the room, and I wrote just another great. This film has great cinematography. I'm just going to write that, say that right off the rip. Another great helicopter flying visual. McCready and Dr. Copper, they find these frozen dead corpses outside, or as they go deeper into this place, and it's really a good visual because it's got like this blade in his hand, and you see like frozen blood coming out of his other wrist.
Oh yeah,
it looks really really cool.
Yep.
Then as they go outside, I'm not gonna lie, I use some Wikipedia help because I'm not gonna take credit for these big words. They find the burned remains of a malformed humanoid that they take back to the base. Blair, the biologist, does an autopsy and discovers that it has normal human organs. Brian, you got any quick thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I got the same thing, just how awesome that was, showing the frozen blood. Also, did I miss something? Because weren't they a little hesitant on going out in the helicopter because of the weather and stuff like that? I'd like to point out there was not one cloud on that entire helicopter flight. It looked very clear for miles. So anyway, and I really did like, the other thing I written down is I really liked the cinematography where it only showed the shadow, you know, and implying something went down, but not really telling you anything. I really did like the visuals right there.
Go ahead, Trey.
Agreed. And I like a lot of the times you'll notice that like the edits of this movie, they'll kind of like fade to black, like right before you think something's going to happen.
Yep.
And this movie also has a lot of shit that happens off screen, which isn't with all the money that they used on practical effects. And even like the Scandinavian guy that like killed himself with like the frozen blood fountain, they spared no, it's like they're fucking, it's like the old guy from Jurassic Park. Like they spared no expense, right? Which gives me more, I guess, more respect for how John Carpenter did it, because the shit that he did off screen, he did it on purpose to like get the mood, build the isolation. So the editing was great. Another big ball move from Kurt Russell here. Nothing's more masculine than misnomering the people whose base you're going. He kept calling them Swedish.
Yeah,
like it kept pissing the doctor off. He goes, "Hey, Sweden," and he goes, "They're Norwegian, Mac." And of course, Mac doesn't fucking care because all he cares about is scotch and helicopter blades. He doesn't. I don't need to call you fucking assholes what you are. So that's just another like layer of Kurt Russell. I don't give a shit what fucking fish-eating country these fucks are from. So that was great. Like you said, Brian, the weather wasn't bad, but it's just another feather in the Kurt Russell is a badass character cap. Like, we're going out there with this weird floppy cowboy hat. So it's good. I feel like the beginning of the movie, it's good for setting tone. It's good for setting pace. It's a little bit of a slow burn because you
Right.
have to. I almost listen, dude. We saw the spaceship. I know that this thing is gone, so that's fine. Like I don't need to know the whole backstory. Like I feel like they almost could have left some of that out, but I like the autopsy because the autopsy is like a little bit gross, and it's like, oh, that's pretty gross. They're showing a lot. The face is like shifty and melty, and it's it's nothing compared to what you're about to see.
I was gonna
Right.
say, it's got
But in
nothing
any
on
other,
it.
but in any other movie, like Wilford Brimley, like finger banging like livers and spleens and stuff would like freak you out. But it's a Disney movie compared to what happens next. But I love it, dude. And the one thing, and we'll get to it. Another reason why I like this movie. Think about all the great monster movies, things like Jaws and even the movie Alien, right? They wait until the very end. They just give you like glimpses of the alien.
Yes.
Right.
This movie, I love it because it's the opposite. They show everything in the daylight. There's not much dark. The monster is like in full view. And there was a really good quote. This movie, did you guys ever see the Bravo did like a scariest movie moments list? Did you ever see that when it came out, or like AMC?
I don't think
So
so.
this movie was clearly on there because it's fucking classic. If you don't think so, I disagree vehemently. But Guillermo del Toro. So directed Hellboy, Blade
Right.
2, Pan's
Yep.
Labyrinth, some other movies you guys are probably going to review. He loved this movie because they were so willing to like show the monster in the light. And he says you only do that if you know your monster. It's like a big dick move, for lack of
Yeah.
a better word. You only do
Right.
that if you know your
It is.
monster is like ridiculously impressive.
Right.
Go ahead, Mike.
Wow. Okay. So how do I follow that up? I don't really know. What I will say is I agree with him a little bit on the slow burn, but it's not necessarily a bad thing because
Sure.
there is a fucking lot coming. Like they're about to hit us with a lot in the next hour and 10 minutes. So I'm fine with that. I love the autopsy because, like you said, it's fucking disgusting. Like like fucking diabetes messing around with people's body parts and shit is fucking weird, dude. And really, I like the fact that they have that shadow. There's a theory about who that shadow is. I'll get to it later when we get to a certain scene, but there's a theory about who that shadow might have been the whole time. But like you said, I love that the thing can be anything. Like that's really what makes this movie for me. Like it can do and be literally any motherfucking thing. Like it's perfect for suspense in this movie. And by the way, Windows. In my headcanon, I like to imagine that's like Radar all grown up from MASH. For some reason. You know, they even look a little similar if you just squint hard enough and tilt your head.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. They kind of look alike. Either that or it's his like younger brother. That's what I'm going with.
Sure. And the
Right.
thing about it, Mike, I like what you're saying because this movie, you feel like you're just as paranoid as the characters in the movie,
Yeah.
which
Especially
is another.
especially that first time you see it, you're like, huh? Because I didn't know. I've told my story. I went into a lot of these horror movies for the first time in 2007, 2008. So I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, okay. I have no idea where that's going. So I'm kind of like, because the whole time I'm thinking it's got to be Kurt Russell. This motherfucker's so badass. He has to be the thing. So
Go ahead, Brian.
Hey, yeah, I was gonna say I think they probably, honestly, in my opinion, should have picked a different animal to do this with because I was like, am I supposed to hate this dog because I fucking love this
oh,
dog?
I know.
And there's
I
nothing
know.
about it that
The dog's
makes,
a unit. The
you know,
Stone
maybe-
Cold unit. Yeah.
that's it. Maybe they didn't want me. Maybe they didn't want to use a cat. They did because of Alien, honestly.
I would have
And,
hated
you
that
know,
fucking thing.
I mean, maybe. And the first thing I wrote back was I was like, you brought the damn thing back to camp. Didn't these people even watch Alien? So I mean, you know, there's another kind of parallel there.
Hey, hold on, Nico, real quick.
Go ahead, Mike.
I meant to say this earlier. You mentioned the cinematography, or someone mentioned cinematography. It's great throughout this whole movie to me. Rob Bottin, Dean Cundy, they make a dynamic duo between all the effects and the way they shoot it and the cinematography. A+ in this movie, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. The next scene's kind of when some shit starts popping off. The fellas, a couple of them are smoking weed. Some of them are playing cards. They're shooting pool. And then, they say, hey, Clark, take that dog to the kennel. So Clark takes his new sled dog to the kennel with the other dogs. Then all of a sudden, this new dog reveals what it really is. I just wrote it transforms into his real self. And I wrote down that it starts eating them, but I read, on Wiki and IMDb, it's absorbing them, I guess, whatever that means.
I love this scene.
It starts absorbing the other dogs, and the dogs are barking. They're barking like crazy. And then Clark, he hears a commotion and goes back in, and he sees what's happening. He opens the cage, and you get kind of a quick jump scare when the dog jumps out super fast. Then he sees like the tentacles crawling out of the door. And then I wrote the whole crew of them shows up, and they see the creature. McCready, he shoots the. Let me flip my page. McCready, he shoots him with a shotgun, but nothing happens. Then Childs, he shows up and blazes it up with a flamethrower, which kills it. Blair does another autopsy and discovers this creature was absorbing the dogs, and it can perfectly imitate other organisms. And then I just wrote Blair is real suspicious of Clark. Mike, you want to go first on your thoughts on that?
I fucking love this scene. This whole scene, the way they set it up. Again, you're not sure why this dog is so damn important until this scene, anyways. And so you're kind of thinking, oh, poor puppy. But you start to realize real quick there's something fucking up with this dog, man. And then it's pretty much some of the grossest effects because it's an animal. It's like the grossest shit. The way that it looks like Twizzlers and spaghetti are like flying out of his back. And it's like sucking the rest of the dogs, and the dogs look like they're melting almost, like they're being turned into tomato paste. It's fucking gross, man. And I think it's great. It makes for a great scene. And Kurt Russell, I'm just gonna keep sucking his dick, I guess, because this is how this goes down. He's so great.
That's how it goes down.
Hey, I'm just saying. Y'all know I'm Team Sack. So anyway. Oh, no, we're not doing the Jason callback? Okay, fine.
They left you hanging out to dry.
They
man.
did.
Team Sack, yeah.
This is bullshit. I fucking hate these guys. No,
Worst hashtag ever.
Okay. But no, love the scene. Love the way. I love the effects here. And again, it just reemphasizes this thing can be anything. So I love it. And again, it's not the grossest scene, but damn, it's really hard in this movie because there's like two. To me, anything with a dog and it just looks like a flying spaghetti monster. So it's fucking gross.
Go ahead, Trey.
I love this, like Michael said. I love this scene because it just shows you how much of a vicious psychopath John Carpenter is.
I know.
Because he takes this dog, the most like majestic husky steed, like I said, just this picturesque college football mascot, and puts a stick of dynamite in its face and explodes it into this big, like, pussy Demogorgon tentacle monster. And it starts these like little flying, those arms from like a car dealership, those like flailing arm tube man arms, start shooting out of its back for like no reason. It starts barfing and queefing like all this like dirty ooze all over these dogs. One dog gets like a spray hose filled with like curdled milk, and it just it's just thing juice, right? So you're watching this, man. And I've seen this movie honestly at least a dozen times, and it'd been a couple years since I seen it for this podcast because I put my best foot forward, you guys. You deserve it. And I know that there's worse stuff coming, but I was just like, oh my god, this is psychotic. I love it. A fun fact about this movie. So, Rob, is it Bottin or Bottin? Do you guys know how to pronounce his last name?
I'm pretty sure it's Bottin.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rob Bottin for le poulet français. Rob Bottin.
Bottin.
Worked himself to like death, dude, on this movie. So Stan Winston, the very famous creature effects guy, actually helped out with this scene. This was one of the final ones they did when Rob Bottin was like on death's doornail from like working on this like tentacle porn Alaskan cold movie. So Stan Winston actually helped out with this scene, and he didn't want any credit. John Carpenter threw, like you can see in the movie, there's like a thanks to Stan Winston, but Stan didn't even want it. So that's how gnarly this scene was, and I like it too. Other than it's so like you got movies for horror movies, right? People that fuck die, virgins live, don't go anywhere, don't go out there by yourself. Copyright trademark, registered trademark for you guys. Just trying to keep it legal. But there's universal movie laws, right? And one of them is you don't harm dogs unless you do it at the very end to make the audience cry on purpose. And John Carpenter says, no, I'm going to kill it with an alien squid crab immediately. So he kills it. And then, so the whole scene's great. And then I like, because Wilford Brimley, Dr. Blair, you can see him. He's the first one that realizes what this thing actually is. And you can see him start to like slip into madness, like just slowly descend because he knows like the ramifications of this thing. So, dude, just a tent pole horror scene for me, man. I love it because it just hits you in the face with like a sledgehammer.
Brian, before you guys want to touch on something Trey said, I read in an article that the special effects guy, Rob Bottin, whatever we want to call him, like you said, he almost worked himself dead. I read that he actually checked himself into the hospital after this. Like he wow. literally needed like medical help and all that because he was so exhausted. But go ahead.
Well, the actors were grossed out. Like they were doing these scenes next to the effects, and they were so fucking legit. They were grossed out. Like some of them were puking off to the side. Like this was legitimate effects. So I mean. He might have worked himself to death, but he made people sick. So I guess it's just a fucked up movie all around. By the way, Carpenter apparently hates dogs because he killed one in Halloween '78 too.
Man,
yeah.
John Carpenter,
he's a sociopath.
Fucking weirdo, man.
He must be Asian.
Ahead, oh my god, we're gonna get canceled. This is the wrong.
He can say that. He can say
that. You
that.
can say it, but I can't like laugh at it, right? Can you edit out my laugh? Like
no,
that's
you can
not
laugh.
good.
It's okay. I give you permission. Okay. Go ahead, Brian.
Man, all the notes I have on this scene is how fucking gross it is, and all that is a gigantic testament to Rob Bottin. And it's we talked about Tom Savini so much, like just sucking his dick on Friday the 13th Part 4 because of how amazing the job he did. Dude, this is leaps and bounds better than Tom Savini's job. This stuff is in the light of day. It is gross when it could have easily just been like, oh man, that's cheesy. And shit, this is like, 3 decades later, and we're still talking about how good it looks compared to what we have today in the CG stuff. So, like I said, I don't have anything but how amazing the effects were in this scene. Also, by the way, I would be dead as hell if I was part of this group, just because. Is it just me, or would I believe literally anything Wilford Brimley told me? Like he gave the exposition the whole time, and I would just be like, "Oh yes, Wilford Brimley, anything you say, even without your mustache, man, you're still amazing." And yeah. Anyway, so spoiler alert. I would have definitely been dead because of what happens later with Wilford Brimley. So anyway.
Oh yeah. Yeah, me too.
The guys, they discover an excavation site thanks to Norwegian data. So they find when they get it, they find a partially buried alien spaceship. Norris, he says that he thinks it's been there for over 100,000 years. And I just wrote the crew. There's it's just a basic guys hanging around the table scene. They're all discussing what they think about this alien. And then Blair, he's on the computer. He gets a message on his computer that says 75% chance that a crew member is infected. And the next message he gets is it would take 27,000 hours for the whole population to be infected. So he reaches in and grabs a gun. And I wrote, they carry this humanoid to a shed outside, and Windows says this should just be burned. But what? Oh, Bennings. Okay, I was like, I'm already getting all these guys confused.
There's a lot of characters, man.
Bennings tells him this is the find of the century, and someone will win the Nobel Prize for it. So Windows, he goes outside, and then he comes back, and he sees Bennings has been consumed by the humanoid. And then I just wrote, McCready and all them, they find Bennings, escape the room, and they light him on fire. Spoiler alert, that might be my least favorite kill. But go ahead, Trey. What are your thoughts on that, man?
So just not much other than what you said. The 100,000 years thing, that's a cool little piece of exposition. Doesn't really, you've seen a dog's face explode and eat other dogs with its like tentacle penises. So that okay, that's cool. Right. But I'm still in shock from what I've seen. I guess it doesn't really matter that much. One thing I do want to add, the the fact that these guys are hard to remember was apparently by design with John Carpenter.
Yep.
When a lot of these characters are vague and kind of faceless, it's like, I don't even know who that guy is. Is that guy a thing? I don't even know is that Bennings? Is that Gary? Is that this? Is that? So other than like
It makes
Kurt
my
Russell,
job hard, though.
right?
It makes
Right.
my
Well,
job hard.
luckily, you're with 3 pros. You're with 3 pros helping you along, and you're a pro yourself. Luckily, so you can be fine. But dude, I'd be remiss. Like, dude, I've got all their names written down, and I've seen this movie like a dozen times. It's one of my top 5 favorite ever. But it was done by design, because it's just, when you don't even know who these guys are, it breeds like more paranoia. So the Bennings kill was, like you said, it was kind of just like, but I like it because it shows how quickly it can absorb and turn into, like, the thing when it eats the dog, it's horrific. When it eats Bennings, it's almost a full Bennings. Mine, it's like its little like melty like toy soldier arms, right? Like it's almost a full Bennings. Then it makes like a weird like funny monster sound. So that's it. It's just setting up the fact that, hey, this thing can really, like, once it imitates you, it is you.
Go ahead, Mike.
I agree. How do I put these scenes? Just kind of move stuff along, and like you said, it kind of did remind me for a minute, like, man, there's so many of these motherfuckers. It's the 12 angry men in the snow, basically. Like, that's just kind of the way, but that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But there are some memorable characters like McCready and like Childs. I still think it's a great ensemble character cast. Like, there's a lot of good character actors in this movie, like Keith David, Wilford Brimley, and and again, the star, Mr. Kurt Russell himself. So there's some really good pieces in this movie. This scene just kind of gets me to the next scene and kind of calms me down from just seeing a fucking goddamn dog fucking using, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, spaghetti penises. I don't fucking know, man. But yeah, this is kind of what I call a connector scene. Nothing, I mean, again, like, it's kind of like Trey said, we just saw this dog thing. Now I'm kind of like, okay, let's keep moving along.
He did have cool little tentacle arms, but go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, he did. The effects were fine. It was just like, okay.
But that really was the only,
right.
Gotcha thing in that.
Kill the ginger, move it along. Yep.
Yeah, let's do this thing.
Yeah, I really wasn't a fan of this kill either. And honestly, to me, as much as I've talked up the effects, the blood, Benning's blood in this chair, like, it didn't look good. It looked fake as hell. It looked like, I mean, I don't even know, some like red just dye. It was I don't know. It stood out enough to me that I was like, man, that looks awful. That doesn't look good at all. And is this a scene where Wilford Brimley goes crazy and kills the rest of the dogs, like shoots the rest of them? Because
that's up next.
Oh, okay.
Good tease.
I'm already ready to go off on John.
You know what? Another great thing about this movie, though, is that this ginger spaghetti arm man gets incinerated with a flamethrower, and we just kind of go, seen better. It's like, no, bro, this guy just got lit on fire.
In any other,
how great this movie is.
If it were like a Friday or a Nightmare movie, I'd be like, hey, that's bad fucking ass.
Yeah,
but we just saw this fucking dog porn thing. And so, and I know what's coming too. I'm like, oh my God, this is kind of tame compared to the rest.
You're right.
That's a really good point, actually. McCready discovers that the helicopter has been sabotaged. And then we go inside and Blair is going nuts. Excuse me. He's destroying all the radio equipment with an axe. He's killed all the sled dogs. He destroyed all the other choppers and the tractors. And I wrote down with a little star that the gun sound effects sound horrible. Yeah. And they sounded horrible in Halloween Part 4 in the gas station. I'm not sure if Carpenter had anything to do with that or not, but they sounded the same to me. After they set Blair after they get Blair under control, they lock him in a tool shed outside. Then the crew, they all turn on Gary when they find out that all the uncontaminated blood, the storage, all of it's been destroyed. Because Copper had an idea that he wanted to test the uncontaminated blood versus their new blood now. And, excuse me, I'm sorry. They all say, well, we don't trust you no more. And then Childs tries to take over, but they say he's too hot-headed. So McCready, he takes over charge, and then they burn the blood sampling outside. That's not a real deep scene, but we don't have This movie's almost 2 hours long, but I only have like 9 scenes written down. Y'all got any quick thoughts on this, Brian?
No, just besides, I know we talked about it earlier, and I had the exact same thing written down. Like, what the hell does John Carpenter have against these damn dogs? And then on top of it, you psychopath, you give me Wilford Brimley, my favorite guy, is the one that kills the damn dogs. So that's the only thing about this scene that I was kind of ranting on about. It didn't even matter what else. Didn't even matter what else happened in the scene.
One thing
Go ahead, Mike.
I always love about this scene is that it's Wilford Brimley. It's a young Wilford Brimley, but in my head canon, kind of like the radar thing, I try to imagine this scene done by older Brimley, and so it's fat mustache diabetes guy shooting all the dogs, and he's breaking down all the radio system. He fucking loses his shit, and so in my head canon, that's the version I see. So die, you damn dog, die! Like I can, oh, you're gonna get diabetes, pew pew. Like that's kind of where I go with it. So again, I don't necessarily agree with you, Brian, because this scene doesn't bother me. Because I mean, I love dogs too, but I know it's all movie. It's right, but like it's kind of like Nico said, there's so much towards the last 45 minutes of this movie that the last 2 scenes we've talked about are just kind of, well, they're just kind of there.
I will say this scene really does do a good job. It escalates. This is where the tension and the paranoia is really starting to set in, and you can see it escalate very quickly in this scene.
That's why I like it. It's kind of the kickoff.
Yeah,
like, exactly. Okay, we're here now. We've done the kickoff now.
Yeah, Brimley loses it. Go ahead, Trey.
I like it because these guys have been in this space together for so long. They've established it, and he has no problem offing Keith David. Like, he tries to murder him. He tries to murder. It's like, oh my God, like he tried to kill him. Like, he was going to axe this dude. He was killing everything. He's decapitating dogs. I just, like you said, it's better than the Benning scene to me because it actually serves more of a purpose, because it's like, okay, this guy is actually lost it. These guys are all on the verge of losing it. They're supposed to be like on the same crew, and they're ready to kill each other immediately. Yep. Immediately. So I like it. And then all the future scenes with Wilford Brimley in the tool shed.
I know.
I'm sure he's great, man. Because that's a guy. Like I said, this is young, unmustached, has both feet. One hasn't been locked up from diabetes or whatever, with some sort of pancreatic disease. He's got all of his digits, 10 toes, 10 fingers. He's in his prime. But each scene with him in the tool shed is great. It's just a very I like how bleak the movie is. Like, it's just so unflinchingly dreadful, and that's why I like it. You don't see many movies like it, man. They really, because movie studios won't let it come out, they really push for some sort of like optimism, and this movie is just pure nihilism. I love it.
Yep.
Yeah, this is where it as much similarities as it had to Alien from the beginning to here, this is where it really separates itself and goes a completely different direction, I think.
I wouldn't know because I haven't seen Alien yet.
Anywho.
What?
Anywho, McCready and Fuchs, they have a basic conversation about.
You should have saved that one, brother.
I'll get into it later. McCready and Fuchs are having a basic conversation about eating out of cans. They need to prepare their own food. One particle can infect someone. McCready, Windows, and Knowles, they asked Blair if they've seen Fuchs. They find his burned corpse outside. I guess they just assumed that he killed himself because he didn't want to get possessed or whatever. McCready assumes he committed suicide. McCready and Knowles, they head to McCready's shack to check it out because the lights are on. And McCready said when he left, he had turned them all off. As they return, Knowles abandons McCready, believing he's been assimilated after finding his torn clothes in the shack. McCready returns to blow them up with dynamite because they don't want to let him in the house. And then Norris, they try and attack him when they get the door open, and Norris just dies and has a heart attack. Like, I would say that's the worst kill, but he wasn't killed. He was just out of shape.
It's definitely the worst death. He's just has bad health. He's definitely has the worst death. Maybe not the worst kill, but he's definitely the lamest death.
All right, I don't know anything about heart attacks, but are they that sudden? Like, I don't know. Trey, what are your thoughts on that? There wasn't much there, but
I love it again because listen, this is the guy that you've like kind of communally elected as your leader. I don't know if by this point has he done like his little monologue into the tape recorder, just like it tears up clothes, like we're like basically telling everybody like, hey, we're all gonna die. Like we're all gonna die. We need to stop it. So the movie takes away hope right in the middle. So they go out. This guy sets himself on fire rather than turn into the thing. That's horrific. Like
Right.
that's but he's
I
just
love
like,
that, by the way.
like, yo, bro, I'm taking fire all day. I will turn myself into a Roman candle rather than get like face fucked by this crab tentacle. So I love that because it's just horrific. They're so quick. Just from one piece of tattered clothing, the entire base is ready to murder Kurt Russell. This guy who has been your best leader by far, your most headstrong, your most logical, he's dead unless he has a stick of dynamite with him. Now, the thing about Norris is that the heart attack looks stupid, but at this point, he's a fully assimilated thing, right?
Right.
He's a fully assimilated thing. So this guy, these things can they have access to all your memories, all your physiology. Norris was a fat shit, man. Solid double chin on my dude. So you got to think that this thing is like, listen, this guy's about to blow everybody up. We're all going to die.
Right.
I need to do something quick. And the thing, which makes it so much more monstrous, is that it goes, yo, they'll believe that this fat obese shit had a heart attack, so I'm going to have a heart attack. So it looks stupid, but when you think about it, it worked out perfectly. And we'll get to this scene.
Yeah.
Because there's some fun stuff about this scene. But I think it looks stupid until you realize just like how genius because it's a fully assimilated thing at that point.
Right. Man, you made a bunch of great points like that.
Yeah,
That's
go
actually,
ahead, Mike.
I love the off-screen kill of that of him burning himself alive. I think that works in this movie because that adds to the dread, the fear. Oh shit, he didn't want to be a part of this so bad he was willing to end it. Like I think that adds a shit ton to the fear and the suspense. And like you said, yeah. Again, I'm not a big fan of the heart attack, but the way you laid it out, it makes it make a lot more sense. And I like the heart attack because it leads to my favorite. I'm spoiling it. It leads to my favorite fucking kill, maybe of all time.
Oh, yeah.
That's how much I like
yeah,
it.
brother. Oh, yeah, me, Gene. Let's go, brother.
Although that's not true. It's actually the Bob kill from Halloween 78, but this is close.
What?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I mean, so I'm glad that I'm honestly like not surprised that they burned this dude alive off screen because this movie's got to set the record for most men and people on fire, set on fire in a single movie. I mean, it would have just been as amazing as being set on fire in any other horror movie would have been. You'd have been like, oh, yeah, great. Another person set on fire while you're watching this one. So that was a good little point. And my other note I have is it's good. It's such great writing in setting the paranoia to the point where it has to give you more paranoia by telling you something you never thought about. Like as soon as he said, don't eat the food, all it takes is a particle, somebody could poison the food. I'm fucking, well, hell, I never even thought about that. So it gives you even more paranoia to take in. And I think that's great writing.
All right, the next scene I think is probably the scene, effect, visual that everyone thinks of when they think about this movie. They put Norris on a table and they try and give him CPR. Copper is using the defibrillator, and then his chest turns into a mouth, and then it bites off his arms. And I'm sure everyone who's listening, can see this chest opening and biting this guy's arms off, and you can hear him screaming. I just wrote an alien creature comes out of his chest, and McCready lights it on fire. And then Norris's head falls on the ground, and he uses his tongue to drag himself to this chair or the desk or something. Then I wrote it just transforms into this crab-looking creature, and it attempts to leave, but it's lit ablaze as well. Then McCready, he tells Palmer and Windows to tie everyone up. Then he points the gun at Charles because Charles is giving him some lip. But he kills Clark because Clark, he lunges at him with a scalpel right behind him. I thought the gunshot was pretty cool too. Trey, you picked this movie. Tell me about this scene. What you think about it?
This is what it's all about, boys and girls. This is a not only an iconic horror movie scene, this is an iconic scene in cinema history, because you cannot out of all of the other monster movies, out of all the other movies that you guys have seen, and you are the most learned, I'm talking to subject matter experts, have you ever seen anything like an opening chest mouth?
First time I saw it, I flipped my shit.
Let me tell you how committed
that's badass.
Let me tell you how committed these guys were to this effect. Rob Bottin took a double amputee, gave him fake latex arms with wax bones filled with jello, put it on this double amputee stuntman, double stumped him up with fake arms, and had him put his fake jello wax arms into a real chest mouth and bit it off. Nothing, full on, everything you see actually happened and scarred all these people for life. And then that's insane. Sprouts off to this like weird tunnel crab thing that Michael not Michael, Brian, dude, you turned my face into that. I look great as that thing, by the way. Best I've ever looked in my entire life. So that happens. You burn that. You almost feel like you're the fat, obese Norris fuck and you're having a heart attack yourself. But that's not it. Because then his head separates. Like, I don't even know how to describe. And it's just like, the thing about this movie, man, is the effects. Everything is slow. It's a slow tear. Yogurt shooting out of its like fake jugular. It's all these like tendrils and viscera, and it drops down. And this is the most terrifying thing you've ever seen. Until the head turns into the thing that 85% of the population is terrified of, and it's a spider crab. And it's the little legs come out, and it's just like click, 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 click. And there is some, I don't know if you meant to do this on purpose, but there's like little parts where the crab monster guy's like looking out of the table. It's like, like then it tries to like crab itself away, just like click, 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 and then they just burn it. Dude, this is the most intense. This is the best shot. This is the most sadistic. This is the most creative. It is the most disgusting. And in some ways, it's one of the most beautiful scenes ever shot to cinema. The balls on John Carpenter to put this on a storyboard and send it out to the world. I am so happy that he did, dude. This is probably one of my favorite scenes that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Trey, you probably won't believe me, but the next scene is actually my favorite. But go ahead, Mike. I'll talk about it when we get to it. Go ahead, Mike.
Everything Trey said, I completely agree with. I love and knowing that how they pulled that off is probably my favorite part now. Like after the fact, like when you watch it for the first time, again, I just screamed, "That's bad fucking ass! Holy shit!" And it looks fucking awesome. Even in 2007, which was a long time ago. Well, they did it in 1982, so it still looks great after I watched it the other day. And so, and the head falling off is probably the underrated part of the scene, because it kind of falls off real slow. It looks like that slime you used to get out of the vending machine. Or, I mean, you guys are maybe older than me, but you used to go to the vending machine and get like the slime. Yeah, I took a shot. And like the slime would stretch all the way to the floor, and you try to make it go to the floor before it broke. That's how his fucking head looked. It was fucking awesome, man. Cool effects. Again, these scenes aren't necessarily scary to me, but they're just badass. Like, just really cool scenes. And one of my favorite kills of all time is the freaking mouth kill, man. First of all, we talked about how fucking nuts John Carpenter really is. Who the fuck comes up with a chest mouth? I'll wait.
And I want to touch on that head thing real quick, man. It was like green and yellow. It looked disgusting. It's disgusting.
It looks like you're blowing your nose and you have, like a really bad fucking flu.
Or like when you spit a loogie and it just like takes forever to fall and break off.
Yeah, the hanger, the one with the throat butter.
Yeah. It looks like real butter. That's a
trachea sauce. Yeah,
that's a real good way to put it. Yep, love the scene. Love the way they shot it. I love the way that Russell comes in and says, "Nope, we're not doing this shit," and burns these motherfuckers down. We don't need no water. Let the motherfucker burn. Yeah, I love it. Great scene.
All right, Brian, you get to follow up throat butter, so go ahead with that.
Better than truffle butter. All right, anyway.
Yeah, thanks a lot. No, but I mean, this is the scene where was throughout the movie up to this point, I was like, God, that effect looks great. Oh, that effect looks great. This is where I paused the movie and went, who the fuck did these effects? And took out my phone and Googled that shit. Because, okay, you talk about John Carpenter being crazy for writing it in the script, but how crazy is Rob Bottin for reading this scene and going, I can fucking do that. Like, you don't do that. And that was 1982. And today, not a single person would take that fucking job, practical effects job on. Nobody. So, I mean, like I said, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's fearless, dude. It's a fearless movie. Like, these guys just didn't care. It's so awesome, man. What a film. What a film.
And like I just said, I'll get deeper into this later, but this is personally my favorite scene of the movie. McCready, he tells Windows to tie up Palmer. He says every piece of Palmer is an individual piece. He wants a blood sample because if the blood is infected, it'll react like it's been attacked, on its own. So he heats up his hot wire and he gets all the samples of everyone's blood and he starts testing. He takes his wire and he just dips it into their blood. And I just wrote down everyone passes this test except Palmer. Palmer is the infected one. He transforms and he attacks Windows. Fucking Windows, you dumb bitch. Just light him on fire. McCready finally gets enough juice in his flamethrower to light Palmer and Windows on fire. Palmer runs outside on fire and McCready throws dynamite on him. I thought that was a really cool kill. He then lights Windows on fire. Kill. And then he tests the rest of the blood, and the rest of them are safe. Like I said, that was my personal favorite scene. When I watched this movie Friday night, whenever he puts that hot wire in his the infected blood, and it just like explodes, dude, it scared me. Like it jump scared me.
No, that's a good one.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting it at all. Go ahead, Brian. I'll let you go first. You don't have to follow up throat butter or nothing.
Shit. Dude, I will say the explosions in this movie, man, these dynamites are like have a nuclear blast and they make for great visuals. But Jesus Christ, they're like lollygagging. They're very loose about throwing dynamite around and holding dynamite, while in one hand you got a flamethrower and the other hand you got dynamite for explosions that'll take out half a city. I will just say that.
I want to say it's because they're fucking over this shit. They don't care. They've seen it all. They've done it all. Right. They're fucking fed up. They were fed up before this thing came around. They were fucking over this shit. We saw McCready pour whiskey on the fucking chest thing. So, again, they're fucking done with it. They're like, you know what? Dynamite, fuck you. Get out of here. By the way, my favorite part of this scene, it's underrated. And I quote, Gary, I know you gentlemen have been through a lot, but when you find the time, I'd rather not spend the rest of the winter tied to this fucking couch.
Yes.
Pops me every time. I fucking love that scene.
Go ahead, Trey.
I love it. It's okay. So this is what just happened. You saw everything that you saw there, right? A normal filmmaker might give you a chance to breathe, but not our guy, not Johnny C. So Clark, at this point, you don't know if Clark's the thing or not, right? He murdered Clark, shot him in the head. He tests Clark's blood. Clark's a guy. McCready's a murderer. He's just killed another human. Child said something about it. These guys are so mentally frayed. I don't fucking. He had
which,
to die.
Which, by the way, I read that written down. I wanted to see a little bit more of that. Like I had it written down before we found out he was a murderer. That I kind of wanted to see them kill each other a little bit more, and then realize they were never things to begin with. That's why. That's the one thing I did kind of want to see a little bit more of.
So yeah, so I love that. Just another thing, like you're a murderer, and he's like, "Listen, dude, I fuck it. We saw everything. I don't give a shit. Like, shut the fuck up, guy."
Right.
So they do that, and they have this guy Palmer, and this is the beauty of making some of these characters so vague. Who's Palmer? He's the weed guy. He's the weed guy who watches like game show videos, right?
Right.
So it's like you almost forget that dude was there because it's like Gary's the guy that they're zeroing in on, maybe Childs, and then out of nowhere, like Nico says, one of the few jump scares in the movie, because the movie really relies on like foreboding and like dread. It's more of like an atmospheric movie rather than like a jump out at you and make you shit yourself movie.
Right.
Like the whole movie, you feel horror, like actual horror, and that's why I love it. You're actually horrified by everything. So he jumps out. His head turns into a head mouth, and he's just like swinging dumbass windows, and his like neck's cracking. It's just...
I love his. I love the head explosion, man. It looks so fucking nasty.
Well,
Like, oh god.
and the thing about this movie, so think about it. This is a horror movie. This is a sci-fi movie. But can you think of a movie that you've seen recently? Like I'm talking like in like a Tarantino movie, a Scorsese movie that's more suspenseful than that scene. Like
The tension is great, man.
yeah, it's a seriously wonderfully made. Like the feelings that you feel during this movie. This is one of the more intense movies you'll ever watch, and it's intense. It's like you said, it's like 4 movies in one. It's like it's the Inglorious Bastards, the bar scene where they're all talking with each other and they're trying to figure out who's a Nazi and who's not. In the middle of this disgusting crab spider dick spaghetti horror movie, dude. It is so I love this movie so much deeper than people give it credit for, and that's why I love it. And this scene is just is a shining example of that.
Well, and this is the gore and the grossness and the shit that you see. You're just it grosses you out, but it's not. To me, it hits me different than like the torture porn movies that are nowadays, like Hostel, and you're just like, oh god, like it's not. It's like I don't want to see this shit. This I want to see more of it. It's great. So it does. It hits you a little bit differently, and it's really interesting how it does. You think of it a little bit differently than you do stuff like I just said, like Hostel and things like that.
And Nico, you're right, bro. They slang dynamite. They slang dynamite like champs, man. Like these are not James Blackman level dynamite throws. These are prime. Yes. This is prime 2013 right. Jameis Winston dynamite slanging action. This is elite slanging.
And they're not scared to throw an interception. There's no doubt about it.
Big dynamite balls.
Blackman's not scared to throw an interception either if you watch the Tony the Tiger Bowl. But anywho, after they do the samples on everyone else and they figure out everything, they go out and test Blair now. But they find out that he's escaped. Then they realize that he's been using components of all the other vehicles to create his own little mini spaceship. McCready says they won't make it out alive, and they don't want to risk the thing freezing again to attack later. So this is I thought this scene was kind of cool too. So they start blowing the station up room by room with dynamite, and as they're setting all the explosives down in the bottom, Blair sneaks up on Gary and kills him. Just like what does he do? Trey squeezes his face.
Oh, he does he mushes him. He just goes and
he just mushes.
He's trying to assimilate it. He's trying to assimilate himself that way. Like, here, let me get your face. All right,
I'm gonna go real deep cut nerd. Anybody Dragon Ball Z fans here?
No. Yes, I'm Asian. Yes.
All right, dog. All right, then talk to me. Talk to me, Chen. All right, remember Android 19 where it had the little red energy sucker dot, and he would go to Goku's face and suck him down with his hand? That's exactly what he just suck my fucking hand, dick. Dude. And then they mold together to one big, and then he's dragging him by his face. Oh, she's fucking great, man.
Hey Nico, a couple scenes ago we missed it, and I meant to touch on it, and I'm glad I remembered right now. Actually, I think it's a couple scenes ago. Wilford Brimley in that fucking little hut thing, where he opens the little glass or the sliding door, and he's in there and he talks with the noose.
Genius.
Fucking awesome. Fucking amazing. Good. The dialogue is good. Everything's good. Don't trust Clark. Watch your back. Don't trust Clark. I love it. Adds to the suspense. I meant to touch on that. I at least wanted to give it a little cap tip.
And you're right, Mike. You're right. I do want to get on that too, because he's just I'm not going to hurt anyone, Mac. Let me out.
Let me out of here.
This is where, and I'll get to my piece in a little bit, but this movie, it gives you no hope, man. Wilford Brimley, our champion of insulin, the man, the myth, the legend, has given up hope. And I like how hopeful he is that little noose is going to hold his fat ass up.
I know, right? Bro. No fucking way. Not in that little hut you're in.
Man. You're taking out a Beamer after. You're kind of fat. You're going to need some serious help there. But it's just hanging there. And it's just like Mac, come on. Tool shit sucks. Going to kill myself. And he's like, I've got bigger things to light on fire, dude. Another, just there's no hope in this movie. It's hopeless. Right. I love it.
19 episodes in, I would just like to say, if anybody was wondering if we could come up with anything new, here we are. And we first Dragon Ball Z reference on our horror movie podcast.
I'm sorry, I've ruined
it
it.
took 19 episodes.
By the way, it's only on the Don't Go Out There podcast where you can hear the king of insulin. So that's always fun.
I don't know if you know this or not, but Goku is still making the spirit bomb to kill Frieza. McCready, he hears odd noises, and I thought this was really cool too. McCready hears these odd noises, and this creature it just comes from underneath him, and I thought that was awesome. That kind of gave me a little pop too. And it grabs this detonator, and McCready, as he's running out, he throws his lit dynamite at him, and he blows him up. He's like, and I just wrote in parentheses, "Fuck you too," as he runs away. And I wrote it was a really cool explosion visual. Childs, he finds McCready. He says he got lost in the storm, and this is the very end of the movie. I just wrote that they both accepted their fate of freezing to death, and they just share a bottle of scotch together, and the movie just kind of ends. Trey, you pick the movie. You give me your thoughts on the finale.
The whole ending scene. The whole ending scene is it's genius. The only thing that is almost disappointing, believe it or not, in this movie is like the final monster effect. Now the final Blair monster is impressive. It's got the dog. It's got everything, dude. It's a Voltron of all the disgusting crap jammed together. John Carpenter asked for like an extra. They were like already over budget. He asked for like another $300,000 to make it happen. They just blow it up because they were literally running out of movie and running these people like crazy.
That makes
but
sense.
the thing that I love about this movie, the use of time is weird, right? So they set Palmer on fire. McCready's sure that everybody's a human. And then they get to Blair's cabin, and under Blair's cabin is a spaceship. So you never really know how long the time is from the end of the test to when they finally go check on Blair. Like hypothetically, they wouldn't really need to because he's got food out there and they don't want to touch him and all the things are gone. They don't know that he's been infected. So the use of time is ambiguous. A really good scene is when McCready's talking to Gary and it's like, hey, the generator's gone. And they're like, okay. And it's like, can we fix it? And he goes, no, Mac, like it's gone. Like it's going to be negative 100 here in a second. Like these like explosions are going to help. But dude, that's when the movie tells you every single character in this movie's dead. Yep. Nobody's coming to help them. They're alone. Their only solace is maybe burning this thing alive.
Yeah.
It's just so black and dark, this movie. So by then they're all dead. Fuck you too. Put it on a billboard, dude. That's art. Hang it next to the Mona Lisa in the Louvre. just a wonderful, wonderful work of art by the GOAT Kurt Russell. So you see, you haven't seen Childs this whole time, and I love this ending because it's not happy. It's ambiguous. It's open-ended. Yep. It leads itself to speculation. People are still speculating on it. And this movie, its final gift to you is that even when this thing is over and you're fully exhausted, John Carpenter says, fuck you. You're still one of these guys. You don't know who's a thing. They don't know who's a thing. And both of these guys are going to die.
Yep.
And it's either going to be two of these guys that you've ridden along with for 2 hours, or one of them's a thing and everybody's dead as soon as some more Norwegians or Finnish people or Denmark or Danish people find it. So it's great, man. And you can see Kurt Russell like resigned to his fate. Both of them are, like Nico so expertly pointed out. It's like, hey, man, I haven't seen you in a while. They're still, they've blown up this camp. They've been through everything. And they still don't trust each other. And then Kurt Russell's like, fuck it, dude. What am I going to do if you're a thing anyway? Let's just drink. Because that's all Kurt Russell wanted to do the entire movie. Like,
I know.
I don't want to talk to you. I just want to get drunk. I just want to drink. I want to drunk. Like, he's just like all of us on a Friday night, man. I just want some whiskey. And I want everybody to leave me the fuck alone for 5 minutes. And Kurt Russell, in the meantime, he becomes a hero. And this movie ends and you don't feel good. It's a true horror movie because after it's done, you feel actual horror. It wasn't an action movie where instead of a gun, they had a knife. The good guy doesn't win in the end. Are these guys even good guys? They've murdered their comrades out of paranoia and mistrust. Are these even good people anymore? They kind of are because they saved the world from this thing monster. And it's the perfect end to a deep, unique, and a movie that really stands the test of time. Like Kurt Russell and John Carpenter thought of this ending for a very long time, and it shows, man. This is a smart fucking movie, and I love it.
Before anybody else goes, I watched the dead meat kill count on this just to kind of refresh my mind this evening, and he said at the very end of the movie they left it ambiguous, but a fan theory is that Childs was the thing because as he was breathing out, there wasn't as much what I can't think. Yeah, like no cold breath are coming out.
Right.
Yeah, he wasn't putting out as much cold breath or whatever as McCready was. But I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I just watched this movie 2 days ago. I don't know shit about it really. Go ahead, Brian.
I think you've done a great job.
I agree for the most part about this ending. Hold on. First of all, I keep wanting to call Kurt Russell his character McCaffrey because of his character in Backdraft. But what is it? What is it again?
It's McCready. RJ
McCready.
motherfucking McCready.
McCready. Okay.
Yes.
So I did like the ending with those two. I loved the ambiguous ending where, you weren't sure. I don't really care for the final, I want to say, battle almost. It makes sense. It makes sense, what you said about them just wanting to try to hurry up and end it because of the budget. But if that's the case, I almost wanted to see that amazing, middle of the movie, the thing that you think about earlier scene that maybe moved to the end. Maybe that would have, I guess, been a great finale, as that's most definitely the best visuals of anything in the movie. Maybe something like that I would have liked to have seen move to maybe the end. And the only other thing I'll say about it is I don't really care for the spaceship aspect of it. I wish if they were going to talk about it, I wish they had just talked about it. But showing the spaceship at the very beginning of the movie was, to me, a little cheesy, and actually seeing it like half built and it's the old 1950s looking like spaceship, basically, that I could have done without that. I will say that.
Go ahead, Mike.
I love the ending for the most part. It's very clear to me that some of our co-hosts don't like endings where stuff is set on fire. That's been made really clear to me the last couple of weeks. Anyways, I actually like it. I think. Look, no, it's not perfect as far as the final, the final brouhaha, if you will, where they just kind of burn this bitch down. But it's also kind of badass in its own way. Like, you know what? We have no hope. We are stuck. We've got no fucking ideas left. Let's burn this bitch, and they do. And I think because of that, I can almost put myself in that position where, hey, if I'm going out, you're going out with me. I'm taking everybody with me. And the reason I love the ending is because I do think Childs is the thing. That's just a personal opinion. There's no proof of that. But it's still fun to have it open-ended, ambiguous. You don't know. One of these guys is the thing. They're both probably dying. But the theory that I love is that Childs has been a thing since the dog arrived, and has so eloquently stuck it throughout this whole fucking time. He's been assimilated since the dog came.
Didn't they test his blood though?
They tested his blood. That's why that theory kind of bunked. But you have to look further into it because they have a reason around it. But I don't fall enough on that hill to know. So, but again, I love the ending because, like, it's kind of like Trey said, it's so bleak. There is no good way out of this. And not very many movies do that. Hell, man, 99% of my favorite franchise, which is Halloween, all their fucking movies are happy endings minus two. Two are like, fuck you, audience. And I love them. I love those movies for that reason. But outside of that, way too many happy endings in horror movies. And this one, you don't get that. You don't get that satisfaction. You pretty much watch them die. Everybody's dead. And so that's why I think it's great, man. I think it plays really well.
Anybody got any final thoughts on the movie? Because I got a question to ask Trey.
Yeah.
I have a couple things. Okay.
Go ahead, Mike.
This movie, and John Carpenter talked on it since 1982. This movie is a really good reflection. He means to, but he doesn't mean to. It's a lot of social commentary. It can mean a bunch of different things. It's very ambiguous. I mean, even in the 80s, people thought it represented, AIDS. You know, it had like that vibe, where the Thing was AIDS, or the Thing was a very big virus, or like people have taken this movie to have it mean so many different things. What is the Thing? And it's still talked about years and years later, where there's a lot of social commentary in there. Some of it's by accident, some of it's on purpose between Carpenter and Russell. But I think they do a really good job of kind of using the Thing as a platform to be whatever the fuck you want it to be.
I
I'm
like
just playing.
that. I like that, Mike, because that's a good thing. Because even like today, like I've seen this movie a bunch of times with people. Like it's the AIDS epidemic, it's the Cold War, or
Right, Cold
communists and
War.
Russians living among us. Even right now, think about it this way. Think about when paranoia and mistrust gets like sit into like a small group of people. How quickly and
Yeah.
easily it is to think of human beings that are just like you as like the other. So it's
Correct.
almost like a commentary on like tribalism. Think about like how many
Absolutely.
times you have a think about how many times that you have a disagreement online with somebody. And you could have a little spear as your avatar and they could have a dumb little gator and you think of them immediately as your enemy. Civil discourse dies, they're the other. You mistrust them immediately.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's something that has really it's pervasive in discourse online, it's pervasive in discourse in person now, it's pervasive in politics, and it's like these little thing cells could be anything. It could be you're right wing, I'm left wing, you're a Florida State fan, I'm a Florida fan, I'm pro choice, you're pro life. There's so many different things. To me, it's like an allegory of how easy human beings are the most compassionate species in the entire world and also the most vicious and cruel. And all it
Absolutely.
takes sometimes is a little bit of paranoia that gets dropped in, just like some gunpowder and dynamite, man, and blows the whole fucking thing up. I think it's a really smart movie.
Yep. Yeah, me too. I'm the same way.
All right, before we jump into fun facts, I just want to ask Trey a question because he knows this movie better than I do. But it just kind of confused me. It's like the Thing would possess somebody, and then they would light it on fire. And was the Thing just spreading as soon as it died, or had it infected more people than just the one? Or because it just kind of confused me.
Yeah. So with every person that the reason why the cinematography is really good is there's a lot of scenes that end a couple seconds too early. Where if you like actually go down and I'm a fucking dork, so I might do it. But there's plenty of opportunities once you know what the movie's about for potential infection. As long as two
Yes.
people are alone, they could be infected. If you're alone with the dog, you're infected. Clark never got infected. When did Blair get infected out in the tool shed? Did Palmer go out there in these like large chunks of when we're not looking at these guys? So that's why I think the use of time, I don't know if it was by design or they never really talk about how long this whole ordeal lasts, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
just they've got 7 or 8 months until people come there, and this whole thing could have happened in 7 or 8 months. And when you're living in close quarters with people, because you have to, because you're in the Arctic, there's plenty of opportunity for infection. So yeah, I think you're right, Nico. It's not something that was like airborne. Every person had to be absorbed and infected. And the movie leaves a lot of opportunities for people to be infected and turned into these things. That's my opinion of it.
No,
Agreed.
that's cool. Like I said,
Right.
I just watched it the other night, so I'm not real learned on it. So it kind of confused me. We're gonna go into fun facts real quick. Mike, do you have any?
I have some backstory. I mean, we talked a lot about it, the fun facts that I had throughout the show, which is good. That's fine with me. Originally, this movie, the original base for this movie is the 1937 sci-fi article, story, whatever you want to call it, called Who Goes There, wrote by John Campbell. He wrote it under an alias, Don Stewart. He's basically known as kind of the godfather of the sci-fi genre, at least for his time period. And so the movie is loosely based on that. Actually, this one's not loosely based. This one's pretty good to the source material. And again, side note, this guy also is kind of like the reason L. Ron Hubbard exists. So let's not give him too much. Let's not give him too much credit. He's kind of responsible for Dianetics. Okay. So as this movie has been adapted once, 1951, Thing from Another World, black and white film. I've actually seen that movie. Let me just tell you guys, man, it doesn't age well at all. The monster is like some fucking veggie monster mashed with fucking carrots and broccoli, and it's fucking terrible. It made a lot of money for its time, but it doesn't stick to the source material as well as The Thing in 1982 does. Carpenter saw the movie, The Thing from Another World, and read he read Who Goes There in high school and was hooked. He always wanted to adapt the screenplay at some point. So, and Bill Lancaster wrote the screenplay. Fun fact, he also wrote Bad News Bears. The only two movies he ever is. It's the only two movies screenplays to his credit. It's The Thing and Bad News Bears. So that's kind of fucking weird. I talked about the Norwegian guy. I talked about the Norwegian guy giving away the whole plot in the fucking beginning. If you understand that language, then you know the whole movie right off the bat. And one more. The original drafts for this film were co-wrote by Toby Hooper and Kim Hinkle, which is the writers for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, among many other movies.
Nice.
Brian, go ahead and read your fun fact, man, and I'll go after you.
Actually, I do have two. In Halloween, the movie that Lori and Tommy are watching is actually The Thing from Another World.
Another World.
So that's
Yep.
a nice little fun fact there. Also, going back to not really knowing who The Thing is, this kind of reminded me a lot of what Wes Craven did with Scream and them never seeing the voice of the phone. These guys, apparently the actors, did not know that they were the Thing during conversations and weren't told that they were the Thing, obviously, until the scene that it's revealed that they're the Thing. So, right. I mean, they wanted it to be very realistic, and I thought that was a really cool little behind-the-scenes touch there.
All right, I just got 4 of them wrote down. They're off IMDb. John Carpenter has stated that of all of his films, that this is his personal favorite. The effects were created by Rob Bottin, which we've said already, and he was only 22 when he started the project. And I got this off of theartifice.com. This is just a quick statement. His creations included use of everything under the sun: mayo, strawberry jam, foam latex, and KY jelly being just a few of the ingredients that made the monster palpably sickening. The third fun fact I have, we've already kind of spoke on this too. To give illusion of icy Antarctic conditions, interior sets were refrigerated to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, while it was well over 100 degrees outside in Los Angeles. And the last one I have is Carpenter said Brinkley was the only cast member not made squeamish by the autopsy scene where real animal organs were used. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well.
Love it.
Gross.
Fantastic.
Right, Trey, you're the guest. Right now we're going to do our best kill, worst kill, and rating. Do you want to go first or do you want to go last?
Up to you guys. I'll go. You know what? I'll go last.
Everyone else has gone last too. So.
Well, then I'm just a sheep. All right,
no, go ahead.
I'm still going last.
Following right in Rashad Green's footsteps. You're okay, buddy.
Mike, you want to go next? I'll go after you.
All right, sure. I'll go next. So my favorite kill was the fucking Venus flytrap chest thing, which is badass. I'm not gonna put it so as eloquently as Drew, but that's okay. My least favorite kill, it's kind of a toss up. I'm still gonna pick the heart attack. I don't know. I know it's kind of a cop out, but I like so many of these other kills. Even the off screen ones you don't see, I can use my imagination to just see the thing being all fucking nasty crab eating mayo shit that we talked about so much on this show, and so I can imagine those in my head. So to me, my least favorite death, at least, is the heart attack. My rating, man, I've gone back and forth on this a couple times because I really, really enjoyed this movie. It's not one that I'm going to rewatch a bunch, but it's at least a once every 2 years or so. Like, pop it in, I want to see it, feel that horror, that tension. So I give it an 8.5. I think it's really, really awesome. It's a really, really good horror movie. Again, monster movies aren't my thing, but to me, this isn't a monster movie. It is in the classic sense, but it's also not. There's so much psychological horror and so much other shit going on that to me, it's not like, it's not Jaws. It's not even Alien. I think it's a really deep movie, and for that reason, that's why I like it.
Okay, here. All right. Oh man, best kill to me. I wrote best kill / scene was I'm giving it a tie between Palmer and Window's death.
Right.
Like I said, great jump scare. The effects were awesome. I love seeing Palmer just kind of transform as soon as his blood, got tested. I thought that was all awesome. And then he just eats Window's face. I love that scene. Worst kill, I picked Bennings. I mean, old boy who had a heart attack was the lamest, but that wasn't really a kill to me. Bennings' death was just, another light on fire scene. And before I give my numerical Jesus Christ, I'm going to get roasted by all the horror fans because I.
It's okay.
It's to quote fellow co-host and good brother Brian Hathaway. The thing I love about this show is we all have different opinions on different horror movies, and I clicked on IMDb. I read all the user reviews, and you just scroll up and down, up and down. There's 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. I'm like, oh my god, everybody listening is going to hate the only Asian on the show. But let me get into it. I wrote, the effects are incredible. The cinematography is great. The acting is great. But this is what I compare it to because I always compare it to something. I wrote, this movie is like going to a 5-star steak dinner. The salad, the sides, the dessert, the atmosphere, all of it's great. But the steak that you ordered just didn't come out right. The main course of the meal. I'm self-admitted not a huge alien
I'm not
monster.
either.
I'm not a huge fan of that genre of horror. And honestly, Trey, when I watched this movie Friday night, if I would have rated this movie just off of that viewing, I was exhausted from work Friday. You can ask any of the guys in the group text. I told them this movie is a snooze fest. Like I was struggling to stay awake. But like I said, I rewatched it again Sunday after I had got some rest. Like I said, all that other stuff is great, but I gave the movie a 6.5, and
Okay.
I hope that doesn't come across bad because it's an iconic movie. And I felt bad because I gave Damn Silent Night, Deadly Night a 6.5, and that movie is nowhere near shot as good, acted as good, iconic. It doesn't have the Venus flytrap death. It doesn't have nothing like that. But to me, that movie was just more rewatchable and entertaining. Like the monster and alien type just ain't my thing. Don't hate me, Trey. I really appreciate you going to show.
Brother, we've shit all over 2 other classics on this show. It's not like, we shit all over Blair Witch, which is considered a classic by some. We shit all.
That movie blows asshole.
It
that
sucks.
Movie
It sucks balls.
dude.
And we shit all over it.
Damn.
And we shit all over the original Amityville, which sucks fucking ass as well. So there you go.
No, that movie's horrible.
That's
Sorry,
awful.
Drew.
Sucking
go ahead,
dicks
Brian.
and eating butts all over this podcast.
Yeah,
go
throat
ahead,
cutter,
Brian.
baby.
Well, at this point, nothing I can say will be groundbreaking whatsoever because, I got the same exact rating as Nico, 6.5 for me. I told you I'm not a huge John Carpenter fan. This was right up there with Halloween, with one of its best film, probably right there with Halloween. But, to me, with John Carpenter, that's kind of like being the tallest midget. And I just don't, I'm not a big fan of all of his other movies, to be honest with you. But this one, I really did. I liked the paranoia aspect of it a lot. I wish that they would have played that up a little bit more. And I think that what I love so much about this movie and what we all love is showing the monster, that made it more of a monster movie. If you had maybe showed less monster and had more paranoia, maybe, it becomes a different movie. Do you like it as much? I don't know. But I really liked the paranoia aspect of it, if that makes any sense to you. My best kill, right there with Mike, agreeance, like always, on that. And I really don't have a worse kill because, I really don't think any of the kills, I never looked at it and went, oh, that's terrible. And so I really don't want to pick one as the worst one, if that makes sense. That's a cop out. Sorry, but that's where I stand on it.
None of these kills are the cell kill from Nightmare on Elm Street, so it's all good.
That's very true.
Trey, before you go, you spoke on it a lot during this review, but it's just, I just didn't get the vibe of the paranoia. I know it's there, but to me, I personally just didn't feel it. I guess it's just, maybe it was too slow of a burn for me. I don't know, but maybe it's just because there were so many damn characters.
You're going to hate Alien. You're going to hate Alien.
Yeah, he's going to hate Alien.
You're going to hate Alien.
I've already said those aren't really my thing, but I really just didn't feel the paranoia, the vibe, the atmosphere, the who done it, or the who's infected. I didn't connect with it. That's just me though. But I'm the guy who likes Jason Takes Manhattan too, so go ahead, Trey.
Yeah, that just kind of invalidated every single thing you said.
Thank you, Trey.
So that's good. That makes my job easy.
Thank you, Trey. That's a
Jason,
shit film.
Yeah,
sucks.
Jason goes to Giordano's and gets a fucking pizza on 59th.
Thank you. Fucking
great stuff.
sorry ass film. Oh my
Jason goes to Katz's Deli and gets matzo ball soup. That is, man, that's 7.5 out of 10. Anyway, I'm just fucking around, man. Best kill, chest mouth. Worst kill, when a guy got set on fire in the snow. Boring.
Wow, it's so boring.
I love this movie, and as much as and you do have to be into this sort of genre, and this is
Right.
my wheelhouse, dude. I love you, Alien. I love Prometheus, and that's not even I love all of that shit.
Yep.
I love all that shit. So this is right up my alley, dude. And Nico, we're all the fun thing about movies is that people talk about them with absolutes. This is all subjective. Nobody's opinion is better than anybody else's on this at all. Jason Takes Manhattan was a fun one though. Let me get to my rating. 10 out of 10. One of my favorite movies, regardless of genre. And the only time I critique this movie is when I compare it to this movie. It's like, oh, the setting the guy on fire death wasn't as good as all the dog deaths. The big monster Wilford Brimley diabetes thing at the end wasn't as good as the crab head spider thing. I'm comparing this movie against itself. It's a victim of its own high standards. I love the atmosphere that it sets. I really did. But I understand the criticisms of it being a slow burn, but to me, I just feel like you're kind of ratcheting up the burner on the tension, and it keeps ramping up and escalating and escalating. And I love this movie because it's like we said, it's 4 movies in one. It's like 8 movies in one to me.
Real, yep.
It's a body horror movie. It's like an environmental horror disaster movie. It's a sci-fi movie. There's social commentary in there. It's a suspense. It's thriller. It's disgusting. It's gore. And it's Kurt Russell with a perfectly manicured beard and sweet, cool, floppy cowboy hat. It's a 10 out of 10. It's one of my highest recommendations. It's definitely my favorite sci-fi movie of all time, my favorite John Carpenter movie of all time. And I am so glad that I am discussing it with you guys. This has been really fun. So I appreciate it.
Go ahead. Brian wants to ask you a question, Trey. Go ahead, Brian.
Hey,
man.
Well, I will say, if the movie was half as good as your commentary on it, this definitely would be a 10 out of 10. You are the John Carpenter hype man for sure. I would no doubt. But you know what? You did honestly change opinion on it a little bit, because the same way that I'm the hype man for Jason Goes to Hell with this group of guys, and I tried and I got him up there a little bit with the interview. But I want to ask you, and I don't know if Mike has seen it. I'm sure Nico hasn't, but I wanted to go watch the sequel, prequel, or whatever it is, the thing, the one they remade, but yet it was the prequel. And I wanted to go watch it, but I was like, I heard that it's almost so much exactly the same movie. I didn't want to get it confused with this whenever I was, reviewing it. So is it worth going and watching, or should I just leave it alone?
That movie is sacrilegious compared to this one. Because the reason why I'm saying, I know that is a very bold statement. Because get this, man, I thought that there was a lot of meat on the bone. Dude, who doesn't love just Norwegians eating each other and turning into crabs and killing each other? And so, you saw the scene in the cabin, that was some horrific stuff. There was some stuff to play with there. But the reason why that movie sucks and doesn't work is almost all of the effects were in CGI. It was one of the most CGI-heavy horror movie in history. So it sucks. Skip it. Tarnishes the legacy. Just stick with this one. If you gave this movie a 6.5, you might try to hang yourself like Wilford Brimley in your shoe closet if you watch that movie, man. I will not do that to you.
That movie has more CGI than It Chapter 2.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's the scale it's on. It fucking blows, man. It's dog shit. So you definitely don't need to see that. By the way, Trey, here we go. One more. You ready?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Okay. Fuck, marry, kill.
Oh!
Right. Here we go.
My own weapon used against me.
Okay, Dr. Blair, Childs, Palmer. Got to fuck one, marry one, kill one, go.
And give reasons why.
I'm not giving you an easy one with McCready because that's fucking easy.
I'm marrying Wilford Brimley because I feel like that's not going to be a very long marriage. My man enjoyed sugary sweets. Like, I feel like I'm not going to have to be in that relationship very long. He's getting appendages cut off immediately. He's got a fat, like, diabetes royalty check. Like, we're living good, and he's dying soon, and I'm getting half. So I'm marrying the OG Wilford Brimley.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to fucking Mary, the only thing that matters to me is if your boy Trey Rowland is doing the fucking and not receiving the penis. And Keith David was going to fuck me, whatever position he wants. That is a terrifying man. If you've seen They Live, he's got some fighting chops.
Yep.
He has taken my butthole. So I am killing Keith David. And Palmer's like, oh, he likes weed, right? He's chill. Yeah. I could hold down and I could fuck like a chill, like pothead guy. I could out wrestle him. So I'm fucking Palmer. I'm killing the impressively scary and formidable Keith David, and I'm marrying the sweet peddler of medical supplies, Wilford Brimley.
The best Keith David line of all time is actually in the barbershop where he says, "Oh, we're still going to call this the barbershop. The sign outside going to say barbershop, where you can get a trim and then you can get some trim." That's the best Keith David line of all time.
Oh my God.
Sorry. Go ahead.
That was great, man.
Brian, do you want to be the one to ask Trey Drew's question, or want me to do it?
No, go ahead. I asked.
Yeah, go ahead, Nico.
Vincent, go ahead.
All right, Trey. So,
oh man,
Drew, I always ask a guest who comes on the show, and I think you and Newberg actually talked about this movie before. Scream. Do you consider it a horror movie or not a horror movie?
Yes.
Thank you, Trey.
Definitely a horror movie, a smart meta horror movie, a movie that suffers from the parodies that came after it.
Yes.
But it's just as much of a slasher as any of the other slasher movies. It knows what it is. It's a self-referential movie. Exactly. It's smart, it's deep, it's Wes Craven, maybe the best opening scene ever, 100% a horror movie. Whoever tells you it isn't is wrong.
Wrong. Thank you.
Dead wrong. All right, boys. I have to head out. I have left my wife alone with a puppy for far too long.
All right, brother.
I appreciate you being on the show, man. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it, brother.
I don't do these very often other than mine, and I had a fucking blast. Whenever you guys want me to do it again, I'll be more than happy to.
Sounds good.
All right, brother.
You.
See you guys.
Brian, Mike, do y'all have any final thoughts on this movie?
I just want to thank Trey for coming on. I appreciate that. That was a lot of fun, man. Look, one more thing I do have to say about this movie is I think if, aside from what Nico said, because I understand what he's saying, I think if you're not into alien extraterrestrial type horror, which by the way, I'm not either, but I would recommend it to someone that's not even into it to at least watch it once, to see the effects, to see the cinematography, the suspense and all that stuff. At least give it a shot, because it's not your typical standard alien invasion horror movie. So normally I don't recommend movies to our audience, but I will on this one. I think it at least deserves one watch if you've never seen it.
I actually am a fan of alien horror movie type sci-fi movies. I really do. I really do like those. I'm one of the very few people that like Species, from the 90s.
Yeah, Species isn't bad. Yeah.
I love Alien. I love all, I say all, probably 4 of the Alien movies. I like that kind of stuff. And
right.
I don't think a 6.5 is me hating it.
No, absolutely not.
A 3. So,
right.
It wasn't bad. I'm glad I watched it. Just like I said at the beginning of the movie or beginning of the show, I'm glad that this show makes me movies that I normally wouldn't watch, and I hope it does it for the fan base as well.
Yep.
I agree with that 100%. Like I said, I never saw this movie, 30 Days of Night, original Amityville, what else? Blair Witch. So I've watched a ton of several new movies I haven't seen. So that was, and I gave it a 6.5 too. That's not, terrible. It's just,
right.
It's not, this isn't my wheelhouse really. I would rather watch the boring slasher with the big machete or the kitchen knife or the finger gloves. That's just what I'd prefer to watch. Right. Really appreciate Trey for coming on. I knew that would be funny. I'm glad we didn't laugh too much. But just thank you again, everybody, for listening and tuning in. we've had an incredible January. We started 2020 off great, and it's all because of you guys listening. We really appreciate it, and y'all have a good night. And just want to remind everybody to don't go out there.